Okay, recording started now. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's Vote Forum meeting. Before we begin, I must advise everyone that the meeting will be recorded and that a copy of the meeting, recording of the meeting will be available for future record via the Council's YouTube channel. We're joined today by the Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Jane Francis. So I'll just ask her to provide an update to us.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aziz. Good morning, everybody. I'm Cabinet Member Jane Francis, Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness in Birmingham. I've just been asked to talk about what's going on in the world of housing in Birmingham. So I've got a few facts and figures for you. I'm always, or staff in my office are always happy to follow up any particular queries that you might have. If you drop me an email, but you'll be aware, hopefully, that Birmingham is one of the biggest local authorities in Europe, and consequently, we're a huge landlord. And some relevant data in that, since in the past 4 years, homeless presentations have increased by about 50%. And by that, we mean people contacting the council or physically going to the council and turning up and presenting as having nowhere to live. The biggest rise in that is single people, but there are 65 homeless families with children presenting every week. And that's the hardest group to work with in terms of finding alternative accommodation. We just don't have enough of it. What that means is that we find increasingly people are having to go into temporary accommodation, and that can range from hotel accommodation or private rented sector. There are about 5,000 households currently in temporary accommodation across the city. That's a huge number. And for those who are who've registered on the housing list, there are 23,000 people on that list. So that's a huge number. We can't build houses fast enough. We don't have enough supply of our own. We don't have enough stock. The biggest shortage is in family size homes. So mostly when people apply, if they're in a priority need, they will be offered hotel accommodation and or flats somewhere, and it may not be that people have a choice about where they live, and it's hugely problematic. The average, on average, people will spend about 20 weeks in council temporary accommodation. That could be in hostels and dispersed accommodation in the private rented sector. And it's obviously not desirable for anybody to be in that sort of setup who's got children. The costs to us are absolutely enormous. We're looking at in the region of £57 million in the years 23-24. And the cost of B&B on average is about £420. So it's a huge amount of money that it's costing us, the city. Obviously, there are implications at the moment because we have commissioners in, and we have to be very careful with and very prudent with how we're spending. There are some positive steps being taken to try and address this particular need. Last year, we launched the first of its kind in England, a temporary accommodation strategy. This is in response to the scale of the problem in Birmingham, and which has got a huge problem with family homelessness. So we have a temporary accommodation service that's been acquiring property, and to date they've secured 279 properties to house homeless families. We've been letting these properties at a rate of about 20 to 25 lets per month to resident homeless families, and also to families by the Home Office for those seeking refuge and asylum from Ukraine and Afghanistan. So we're also using over 2,300 properties from Birmingham Council housing stock and transferring them into fully furnished temporary accommodation to move people out of shared accommodation and homeless centres. We're looking at amending our allocations policy so that a higher percentage of secure tenancies are allocated to homeless families. And we've seen a tremendous uplift in movement from both our B&Bs and homeless centres because of this policy change. So we acknowledge, I think, that we can't do this on our own anymore as a council. We have very, very good relationships with services such as early help, with education and public health. We work closely with partners to try and develop excuse me, new housing provision as fast as we can. But it's a very, very difficult affair. And I'll leave it there and have about 5-10 minutes of questions. If you like, if I can't answer them, please drop me a line and I'll see what I can do. And I'm sorry if it's profoundly depressing.
Yeah, thank you, Jane, for your update. If residents have questions, you can raise your virtual hand or you can put your questions on the chat. I know, unfortunately, Councillor Francis won't be able to join us for much longer, but if you do have any questions, I'll pass them on to her and she can answer them at a later date. Yeah, so we have a question from Sajid.
Hi, thank you, Councillor Raqeeb. I'm Sajid Hussain. I'm a landlord within the private housing sector, and also I am the chair of Small East Forum. What my concern is, we as private landlords, we bend over backwards, try to give housing to local people. But the problem we're getting is we are not getting the help from Birmingham City Council with your new licensing for private sector, which is not the HMOs, but just the normal licensing. I think that's unfair, because what we've done is we've had to put that cost onto the tenants. When you've already got a crisis of housing, we are having to put that cost on. And as you know yourself, the rents are increasing locally because of people moving from out of the areas, which is another cost onto the tenants. The other issue I've got is when certain tenants have been evicted, Birmingham City Council are advising them, don't move out until you get your court eviction date. After you've got your court eviction date, wait for your bailiff's date. That is an additional cost onto the tenant that's passed on, because when the bailiffs are involved in it, that's an additional cost. So I reckon that Birmingham City Council are not helping the private sector, trying to keep the tenants that are there. I see even now with this selective licensing, we are paying the fees, but we are not getting any service back. It just seems to be they're just checking. We've got gas safe certificates, EPC certificates, which are general things which every landlord, 90% of landlords are giving out. And I feel that inner cities are finding it harder and the rents are increasing a lot more. So you will find a lot more private sector are moving away from renting properties locally.
Thank you. Did you want me to come back, Councillor? It's muted.
Oh, yes, if you can come back, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. There's quite a lot in there. If you've got particular issues with private rented sector, we've got a dedicated team, and I'm happy for them to pick up any concerns that you might have. As far as the licensing scheme is concerned, we introduced that to make some improvements for people living in private rented sector, because not everybody's a brilliant landlord. I'll take it for granted that you say that you are, and that's fine. But we have to make improvements across the board. Sometimes we find that people are living in dreadful conditions with very little security. So that's part of the rationale for doing that. But as I say, if you feel that you're not being treated in any way fairly by the city council, or if you've been penalised, do let me know and I'll get that addressed for you.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that, Councillor. Also, the other thing I've got is we used to get a limited amount of time. Say if tenant moved out, when the tenant moves out, we used to get a concessionary a month or 2 months in a year to repair that property and make it rentable again. But that's been taken away from us. So literally, when a tenant moves out, we become liable for council tax. I know you're going through crises at the moment, but don't you think there should be a little grace period for landlords where they are able to bring the property up to standard? I mean, just decorate or rent it out rather than having to pay council tax for a month or whatever. I've even had where I've had to pay 4 days council tax, literally. But when you look at the amount of paperwork that you were going through to do that and generate the bills, it's probably costing you more to make them bills. So don't you think there should be a little grace period for landlords in a year to be able to rent out properties again?
I'm not unsympathetic, but I think in the current climate, the current context, getting any sort of relief on that is going to be nigh impossible. It's not our fault as a council. We need. I mean, by law, we have to collect that council tax, and that council tax helps fund other things. But if we can target some resources on chasing people who abscond or go to court and they get evicted, and try and make sure that they pay what's duly owed to them. But sometimes we have to write monies off. It's just dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. So I've got another question from Rezda in relation to the HMOs. He's asking what are the council doing about HMOs and exempt accommodation, because we've seen an increase over the years of exempt, and what are we doing about the rogue landlords who operate the HMOs? Just before, before you answer, I think we had Sajid wants to come back in. Sajid, do you want to come back in?
No, that's fine, Councillor.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Councillor.
Thank you. HMOs has been a huge problem in Birmingham, and it's a worrying concern that there are concentrations in particular areas. We know nationally that HMOs are more likely to be located in areas where housing is cheaper than anywhere else. And we know there are some rogue landlords and some people who exploit those who are most vulnerable. We're doing all we can to make sure that there is reasonable regulation and management of that. We work alongside landlords who are establishing HMOs to make sure that they're doing everything that they should within the law to make their properties to a decent standard. We have citywide tenants forums and residents forums which come together to address particular issues, but it's not going to go away. The reality is that we have nationally a broken housing market, so people often don't have choice but to go to an HMO provider in their particular area if something's cheap. That will be the way it's going. It's desperately sad, but we know that this is a national issue. And the sooner we, I'm going to be a little bit political here, have a change of government and a change of approach and a release of local authorities to be able to build more accommodation themselves, which is going to take a long time to do. There are limits as to what we can do. In the meantime, I took a report to Cabinet a few weeks ago, which is a 30-year investment, biggest investment that has ever been seen in Birmingham, to make sure that we can build sufficient high quality affordable housing and to put right our housing stock as well, which is really important because some of them are in a dreadful state of disrepair with damp and mould. So we work in as fast as we can to do that. But I don't think HMOs is going to go away. It feels like part of the housing landscape at the moment. But we don't want them too much of a concentration just in particular areas because that skews an entire neighbourhood. So we're happy with something that's more fairly spread out, but as I say, getting away from the location or the co-location with where housing is cheaper is really difficult. Thank you. I've got about 4 minutes and then I have
I was just about to ask about time. I think we've got one more question from.
Go on.
We have time for Sajid. One more question, Sajid.
Thank you, Councillor Raqeeb. You've said that there's a lot of rogue landlords out there. I don't disagree with that, there is. But when you said about damp and mould, Birmingham City Council housing is one of the worst compared to private sector. What are this council doing about to rectify that?
I absolutely hold my hand up to that. I think it's been in a dreadful situation. for years and years, and it's a situation that sadly I inherited when I took on this portfolio. Excuse me. Sorry. Some of the issues have been around for years. Our stock is in serious state of disrepair, particularly high-rise blocks, which the city has so many of. But we've managed to secure an investment of £5 billion to the housing stock. And we'll be spending that money over the next 30 years to make sure that tenants and leaseholders can live in warm, safe and sustainable homes. I will keep you posted, and I'm happy to come back and report on where we are in another time, if that's acceptable to you. And as I say, if you've got any particular queries, or if your tenants, residents or landlords have got particular queries, drop me a note and we do respond to everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Francis, for joining us. I'll let you go now. Hopefully we'll get you in a future day. And if anyone has any further questions to Councillor, I'll pass them on to
Thank you. That's lovely. Enjoy the rest of your meeting, whatever's on the agenda. Nice to speak to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So I think next on the agenda is Officer Marsh or Sergeant. Apologies, I don't know your title. If you could just provide an update. Thank you.
Hi, yes, I'm Neil Marsh. I'm the Constituency Sergeant Coordinator for Hodge Hill. Sergeant Mark Robinson sends his apologies, he couldn't make it today. Obviously, I've not been forwarded a copy of the agenda to answer prior to obviously any meeting today. From a policing perspective, we are still dealing with high levels of demand, and we're supporting our response colleagues with calls for service. That's obviously local officers attending local incidents rather than a force-wide resource. So hopefully that will bring some reassurance that you have still got your local officers in the area, even if we are a little bit less visible, and that's because we're supporting those people wanting to report things to the police and calling us. In the wider area, and hopefully you'll start to see some impact from this. Obviously in the Washford Heath ward, which forms part of the Hodge Hill constituency, there is a project ongoing called Cllr Whole Build. You'll see a lot of work being advertised around some of the vape sales and the illicit vape shops. A lot of work's going on around that, as well as obviously drug crime prevention and serious youth violence prevention. Obviously, yes, I appreciate it might not impact on some of you directly in this forum, because obviously it's Washford Heath. However, the wider impact of that will be disbursement of crime and obviously removing weapons from the street in the longer term. Obviously, we're now into the season of Ramadan and Eid. You will see a greater number of officers. That's nothing to worry about. Obviously, we're aware of obviously some of the ISB that took place last year on the Coventry Road, and obviously there was just some additional officers and resources in place to try and reduce that disruption and reduce some of the ISB issues that were caused. I have no further updates, and obviously I'd welcome any questions that I can feed back to the Bordesley Green team.
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant Marsh. Does anyone have any questions for Sergeant Marsh? Please raise your hands if you do. I don't see any hands, but I think some people they've asked. I think Sajid's got a question. Yeah, Sajid. We'll take Sajid first, and then we'll take name after. Sajid, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted then. Yeah, I'll just give an update on the Coventry Road Ramadan markets. There's an actual team where Inspector Everett is dealing with it with Birmingham City Council. Now, between Monday and Thursday, there is going to be 6 officers and 1 sergeant. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's going to be 12 officers and 2 sergeants available. That will be helping Birmingham City Council trading standards. They will be patrolling on the Coventry Road from 3 p.m. till late at night, just to make sure everything is running fine on the Ramadan market. And that's Supposed to have started last night, but there wasn't any officers last night, so we'll see what happens this evening.
Thank you. Name Yusuf. We can't hear you, name. I think he stays, put his hand down. I think a few questions I had previously, it was about, I don't think some people have made it. They were asking about antisocial behaviour. Just in general, I know you deal with Watch Fleet team, but could you just update what the officers are doing? Because a lot of the issues with Watch Fleet and Bordesley are the same with antisocial behaviour, drug dealing, and etc. taking place, especially during Ramadan and the Eid time.
Yeah, so obviously, as I said, a number of the officers, or the vast majority of our officers on neighbourhood policing currently, are being drawn into supporting with demand. We've got high levels of calls for service, which is people dialing 999 or dialing 101 to report crimes to the police. So we've got victims of crime. They do take precedence over anything else that we are doing. So we're supporting with that high level of demand. Obviously, in any downtime, we are obviously concentrating on patrols, and we've also been working closely with our Op Guardian force, task force, which deals with under 25 violence. You see them stopping people in our hotspots. So there might not necessarily be designated patrols for ASB in the Bordesley Green and Washwood Heath area. However, we are seeing increased numbers because obviously we are working on that Cllr whole build project, which in turn is obviously having an impact on the surrounding areas. There are a number of obviously projects going on that obviously I can't speak exclusively about because it's not myself that's running the project. However, we are having more access to traffic resources, the Guardian Task Force, as well as our operational support unit to obviously support with visibility and road safety and ASB operations in that area.
Thank you, Sergeant Marsh. I think we'll take Name since his hand was up and I think he disconnected. Name. We can't hear you, Name. We still can't hear you. Oh, you can hear you now. If you have a question, Name, I think put it in the chat because we can't hear you. Sajid, if you have a question.
No, sorry, I was just telling Name that he was muted.
Okay, that's fine. I just saw your hand up. Yes, the Name. So just put your question in the chat if you have any question. I think one of the main question, Sajid, is about visibility. I've had a lot of residents raise about that. I know you're in a different team, but I know you're dealing with budget cuts and a lot of other issues. But how are we increasing visibility, especially around schools, and just to show, because people have said we never see the police in our area. So would you be able to just provide an update on that? And a Name, just before you come, I think, can we hear a Name now? We've got two names.
I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay?
we can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, brilliant, excellent. I don't know what's happening. I just had to change something. Right. Just to clarify on yesterday's Ramadan market, because I did miss a little bit out on that. I walked past last night. Couldn't see any police officers, but it has had a very useful impact. Simply because from what Sajid says, there were 7 police officers in plus 1 sergeant. So it's normally 8 police officers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and 16 police officers, 2 of which are sergeants on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So yesterday, I did not see a single vendor, not one vendor on the main commentary road. And from what I was told, there was good visibility of police. It's just that I somehow missed them. So that begs the question: is what's been going on the last so many years, and why hasn't a single vendor turned up? So obviously the word is going out, and I thank all the police officers for that, including your team. So thank you for that. I think I'll just leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Name. Yes, Sergeant Marsh, would you like to just come back on that?
Yeah, obviously I can't comment entirely over the past few years. Obviously, I've worked at Stetchford for a substantial amount of time, and I think we've seen the Ramadan celebrations of those markets grow over time. And I think last year was the point where it just got to a point where actually we knew that we needed to grip that. Obviously, some of the ASB issues that have arisen over during the last celebrations has led to a more organised response, should we say, to obviously some of the issues that were faced, and we didn't want that disruption to residents again this year. So hence why we've drafted in a number of officers from around the area, from around Birmingham, to obviously support with the policing of that of the markets, and obviously make sure that you guys could enjoy the celebrations in peace, and any residents could enjoy the celebrations in peace.
Yeah, thank you for the update, Sergeant Marsh. Does anyone else have any further questions for Sergeant? Yeah, I can see your name.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you for that, Sergeant Marsh. I believe you're from Bordesley Green.
So I'm currently working at Shardon Police Station. I'm the coordinator for the Hodge Hill constituency, just standing in for Sergeant Robinson, who is your Bordesley Green sergeant.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're standing in for Mark. I was supposed to ask the question, is that with regards to these 24-hour shops, I don't know, I must have missed it because I was on a different call. What we've got is we've got a huge number of 24-hour shops that are not referred to as mop shops, that are causing a lot of ASB. I've normally regularly email Mark, so I do have a good working relationship with him, and there doesn't seem to be any substantive action taken against many of these shops in relation to working with the other statutory authorities like West Midlands Fire Service, like Birmingham City Council, like the planning department, like the licensing department, like environmental health, like enforcement. Because what we've got here is a large number of shops, as you all know, that are causing ASB, that are selling things that they're not supposed to be selling. And yet these shops are still operating. And could there not be further collaboration with your statutory partners in trying to get to the bottom of these shops as to why these shops are still operating without the desired and mandatory licenses that they're supposed to have? Thank you.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Obviously, the Cllr whole build work that's ongoing at the minute is focusing a lot around some of those shops. Obviously, we are, as far as our policing powers go, obviously we do have our hands tied in certain places, because obviously trading standards legislation and fire legislation obviously is a hell of a lot different to ours. I completely agree. We need to do more around some of those shops, particularly obviously not just focusing on the Cllr whole build area. However, it simply comes down to resources and high levels of demand currently. So like I say, a lot of our time is currently being taken up by responding to people calling for help. That is a focus of our resources at the minute. However, if you do find obviously some of these shops are causing disorders, are causing any kind of antisocial behaviour, the one positive I would say to that is we investigate a lot of our own stuff now rather than it going off to an investigation team. So we start to piece together those local issues, those patterns that start to form around certain premises, and we can start to pick that up as part of the ongoing investigation.
Yeah, thank you. Is that a historic name, or do you want to come back? Okay, that's fine. I don't see any other hand raised. If anyone does have any other questions, you can put them in the chat. But Sergeant Marsh, thank you for joining us today on short notice. You had to cover. You're free to leave now. If we have any other further questions, we'll just pop them to Sergeant, the local sergeant in Bordesley Green. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for attending.
So yeah, so next on the agenda is local updates. So the first local update I would say is one of the big campaigns I've been running since our last ward forum is in relation to Smallheath Library. So I started a petition which was presented on the last budget meeting last Tuesday. That's one of the main things we've been running. Also, a lot of residents raised with me in relation to the Connecting Bordesley Green plan. I attended some drop-in sessions for the Connecting Bordesley Green as well. I spoke to the officers. I raised concerns. A lot of residents raised concerns in relation to the cycle lanes being installed. people saying they don't want any cyclones being installed. So I discussed that with them. Also, I spoke to quite a few residents on our group and I spoke face to face to a lot of people in relation to filling out the survey, because we had quite a low turnout for the start. I don't know how much we had now. I'd have to check with them because the consultation is closed now. So after this initial consultation, a plan will be made, and following that, we'll be informed again, and then a further consultation will take place. So when the further consultation takes place, I'll inform residents again, and just so you can have your views on that. Because I know a lot of residents said we need better speeding measures, we need better lighting, we need some one-way system on some roads, which hasn't been approved or anything. But I know a lot of people like on 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, other roads around Green Lane wanted one-way systems. So we'll have to just see how first what the initial plan is. Once I get the information, I'll forward it to everyone, and so that we can have any updates on that. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Is it? Sorry, is it? Oh,
Yeah, sorry, name.
yeah.
Yep.
So the questions are you asking in specifically with regards to the connected Bordesley Green?
Connecting Bordesley Green or any other updates if you have, specifically that, but if you have any others, you can also raise them.
Okay, yeah, one. I think you know about the lights that we've asked you to look into, which was the one on Munn Street, Bordesley Green, Victoria Road. So that's a main concern, given the fact that there's been an accident not long ago, just on Grange Road junction. I'm sure you're aware of that. Towards the end of February. So one of the issues that we're trying to ask, and if something you as a councillor can do, is I've seen the response that you've given via the Small Youth Forum, and I don't believe it's an acceptable response that we can just take the officers' word for what they've said and how they've done it. I mean, to turn around and say that we'll have got to wait till, was it 2033 or 2034, something like that, to try and get an update.
31, I believe.
Something stupid like that. So in terms of your remit, can you please follow up as to, number one, did any officer actually come out to site to inspect the light to see if it's actually functioning correctly? And the second thing is that because of the response between the two separate lightings, the delayed in response, can that extension be carried out to this specific set of lights, because of the fact that it doesn't give enough time for people to walk? And thirdly, the officer turned around and did say that it would make it more dangerous. Can you please quantify how does delaying a timer on a set of lights make it more dangerous? I would have thought would have made it much more safer. So them 3 points, if you can get that and get back to the Small Youth Forum on that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Naeem. I've had a lot of residents raise that previously with me as well. I've been chasing this matter up actually for quite a while. Previously, the lights were turning off on the Green Lane side or the Victoria Street side. So the officers attended, I believe, when we started, when the Small Youth Forum emailed me back then, officers attended the site, and they changed the traffic lights. So work was taking place. But unfortunately, they changed the traffic lights, and the same issue persists. So I will chase that up again. I've chased it up previously, and I'll chase it up again, because I know I agree with you that the response is satisfactory. That junction we've had a lot of accidents there previously as well, and because the lights change, like you said, the green lights change into amber, and the other set to amber as well at the same time. So as you know, in some people in the area, speed past red. So if amber is not changing quickly, we have a big problem there. So we've had a lot of accidents because of that. That is one of the priorities. I think I had the local engineer attended, or he didn't attend the site. I'll ask him to attend as well, and some of the key stewards, I'll ask him to attend as well, so that we can just have a on-site meeting, and so we can see the site. Because if you, like you said, if you go to the site, you know, I've been multiple times. If you go to the site, you know how dangerous it is. So did you want to come back in there?
Yes, please. Yeah. So if you don't mind, if you can get the officers to get the report made of what dates they'll be now and what dates they're going to come out, and if you can have a copy, the Small Youth Forum have a copy of that report, so we too can look into it. because I think the days of just taking an officer's word for it, because in all intents and purposes, it seems that they don't want to do anything about it. And is it because it's Bordesley Green that they don't want to do anything about it? Who knows? I don't want to sort of put it out there, but the fact that somebody just turned around and said, wait till 2031 when we've got a bankrupt council, Section 114 notice isn't really the right way to go. So questions need to be asked about these officers as well, as to what their roles and responsibilities are, and if they can, at times get off their backsides and actually do any work. Thank you.
Yeah, I will update you. Once I have a response, I'll update you just to see when the Cllr highways officers attend, or when their local NGO attends, I'll let you know, so you can just have a discussion with them as well. Does any other residents have any other concerns or questions? I don't see any hands. Name, did you want to come back in? You might as well come back in.
Different. Yeah, might as well. It might as well have a conversation between me and you. Something entirely different. I'm not sure if does St Andrew's Retail Park come within your catchment area?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you're aware, but you probably are aware of the high level of antisocial behaviour around the cash points outside Morrison's and the aggressive begging that's been going on. So I think something needs to be done with that, because we've seen now locally an increase in the number of aggressive beggars, not just within the Bordesley Green area, but within the Small Heath ward area as well, hanging around at lights. Now the weather's going to get a little bit better. My fear is that this is going to increase because of the number of housing that we've got here, supported housing that we've got here. And that needs to be something that needs to be tackled with priority, because people are coming up to us, and we mentioned it in our forum as well, that some of the women folk seem very scared to go to the cash point, literally because these people are loitering around and they don't feel very safe, and safety is a concern. Also, the way in the aggressiveness needs to be tackled as well. And why is it that they're always hanging around here? Can they not be moved over? And lastly, is it in your interests within the Small Heath ward and possibly Bordesley Green area to put out a public space protection order with regards to this begging and potentially other stuff like nitrous oxides? Because we are finding larger bottles, the 3.9 kilogram bottles now, both within your ward and Small Heath ward areas. So if those points can be picked up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Naim. Yeah, I picked up. I think we've raised this issue before as well, and quite a few residents have raised it. I remember in the Bordesley Green meeting that we attended a while back, we had this issue about begging. It's not only, I think, like you said, it's Small Heath, Bordesley Green, Sparkhill, even Sparkbrook. The begging is increasing. I know I visited Stratford Road a few days ago, and that it was the same day. Maybe as it's a bit worse, but the issue is unfortunately spreading everywhere. It's aggressive begging, like you said, where they're going near cash points and waiting for someone. So if people say we have no money, they know you've got money because you've just taken money out. In relation to the nitrous oxide, I know we've unfortunately that issue is persisting as well. I know you carried out some work previously about that as well in the parks and other areas, and you raised it with the officers as well. But I will raise that again, because I know it's a big issue in the area still, especially by younger people, where unfortunately they're getting into this. And it's causing a big problem for them and for everyone else in the area. Does anyone else have any further questions, or we're going to call into the meeting? Anything else, Naim, or should I? Do you have anything else?
You know,
you can come in again. Naim.
I can't go on and on. In relation to the cars and the vehicles that are on Jenkins Street, Camelot Way, that sort of end, is anything being done about it with regards to the council enforcement, as well as the police, given the number of garages that are there and the number of vehicles that shouldn't be on the road that are on the road?
Yeah, that issue is a massive problem. I think I don't know if I've spoken to you. I've spoken to some other people on the forum in relation to this as well. We've had a massive problem with that area. I've been chasing that matter up for a while as well. I've had a meeting with Councillor Liz Clements, the Council of Highways. She attended the site as well. I've also had a meeting with the police about that. I've raised with trading standards. Unfortunately, it's not, the issues are going with the police. the cars that aren't taxed, the police are unfortunately saying that when we remove them, it's DVLA's job. So we've removed them a few times. Each time we remove them, someone else places another car there. I've raised with them that it's still your job to remove the cars if they've been there for. Some of them have been there for months. We've also had wardens attending the area. I've seen some cars with 10 tickets on there, so that's not really working. I do agree. I've raised it again, but I need to raise it with licensing as well. I'll share it with licensing because I don't know how these garages have licensed, some of them, because like you know, living locally, that some of these licensing, they don't have no space. The garages don't have no space, and they're just parking on the road. So that area is a big concern of mine as well. But unfortunately, I'm not getting where I want to be with that because so many departments that I'm chasing up, and it's each department has a different thing. So hopefully, we can get somewhere with that. Or if not, like I said, I'll have another meeting with the cabinet member or the police. I think I had a question in the chat from Hussein. Yeah, he asked a question about football match days in the Blues football game. Yeah, Hussein, I did raise that. I raised that with the police as well and with the council wardens, because I know in football games we have a big problem where people are just parking on pavement, especially on Bolton Road and the roads around the area where it's just blocking the cycle lane and parking on pavements, and people with wheelchairs and pushchairs are not able to access the pavements. So I've raised that. I haven't had a response, unfortunately, yet. I'll chase that up again for you, and when I get a response, I'll send it to you. Name, did you want to come back in?
Oh, yeah, I've got loads to say. When it comes to what you said earlier on, that you had the cabinet member and other people out, can you, if you don't mind, make a report as regards to what they've said? There's no point having people coming out just for the sake of people coming out. My understanding is that two cars, they're not supposed to be within 500 meters of each other if they are used for trade purposes on the public road. The other issue that I was going to ask you about is the cycle lane on Bolton Road. I missed the first half of the meeting, so I don't know if that was actually picked up on. And the fact that there was a proposal of having lights at Bolton Road. Can you provide any updates with regard to the Bolton Road cycle lane and or the proposal of the lighting on that, please?
Yeah, the Bolton Road cycle lane, that was discussed in our previous meeting. So if you want further information on that, you can watch the meeting, or there's a plan as well that came out. On the top of my head, the plan is still going ahead. I think the work should be taking place next month for the cycle lane to be heightened and for the road to become two-way again. In relation to the lights, I know which junction you're talking about. On top of my head, I can't remember what the proposal is on that. But let me check with that and I'll get back to you over that. I know there was a giveaway junction going to be installed on Jenkins Street and that section, but I know I can't remember exactly about the other junction. But once I just look at the plan again, I'll send it to you and I'll give you an update. Yeah, do you want to come back, Name?
Yeah, the lights were proposed at Bolton Road and the bridge, that road and the bridge on Jenkins Road. So there'll be four-way or two-way lighting, wherever it is. Another question that I wanted to ask you was what's been done about the encroachment of the shops on Comshore within your area? Because there's a lot of encroachment. We were told by Cllr that some of these shops have had upwards of 20 letters that they've been sent out. And from last November, I think it was, the system was going to be changed. So the council would be the one sending out the enforcement letters, because there's a lot of footpath that's been taken up by existing businesses that shouldn't have all that stuff there blocking the footpaths, especially when it comes to close to crossing points.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a big problem we have. On Country Road, it's spread, unfortunately. We've had people just, because like you said, one person does it, now other businesses copying them. I've raised that previously already with highways, like you said, but now I'll raise it again, like you said, this council issue now. There's notices been sent to a lot of them. Some of them did remove for a bit, but then after a while they went back in. Some of the shops have their own land, so we can't do anything about that. But the ones you're discussing, I know they're highways land. They shouldn't be building on there, especially some of the payments are just completely blocked. So yeah, I will raise that again and just for an update, and I'll give you an update on that as well. I think we had a question in the chat. It's in relation to the cycling proposals. Yeah, the cycling proposals, they've already come out. The consultation period has already ended. So the plans are basically approved. It's just about implementing them now. But if you have any concerns in relation to it, you can always email me about it so that I can raise it with the officers before the work is done. Before you come in, name, I'll give Hussein. Can you come in?
So
Okay.
just following up from what you said about the cycle lanes, are you saying that the proposals have been finalised and they are going to use the cycle lane initiative, but they are going to implement cycle lanes? Sorry.
Yeah, I could just about hear you, and I think you're saying if the cycle lanes are going to be installed, yes, the Bolton Road cycle lanes are going to remain, as far as I can tell. The road will become two-way again. Some of the proposals have been changed due to the petitions that took place and due to residents' concerns, but the cycle lane will stay on the road. It'll just be altercation of cycle lanes. The cycle lane will be heightened so that it's more separate to the road, and the road will become two-way again. So a lot of the residents around there raised about the one-way system, so that will become two-way again. And like Naeem was saying, there's some suggestions on lights and giveways being installed on the junction by the bridge.
How about
Sorry?
How about the recent proposals for Bordesley Green? I think it was Victoria Street and a few other roads that were going to get cycle lanes. Has that been approved?
That was the connecting Bordesley Green plan, which I discussed earlier. That's the plan. Not only Victoria Street, there's Victoria Street, Bordesley Green Road, Green Lane, all the avenues, 3rd Avenue, all around the area. So that plan, that hasn't been improved. This was just the initial consultation yet. So now the initial consultation period ended on the 1st of March. So now the officers are going back to discuss with what the responses have been. And then in a few months, I don't know the actual timescale because they're not sure of it themselves when I asked them. So once they investigate all the responses they had, then they're going to come up with an initial plan. After that, there'll be another consultation, which residents will have another opportunity to see if they approve of those plans or if they want anything changed. And after that, then there'll be a final approval of the plan.
Perfect, thank you.
Naeem, did you want to come back in?
Yes, please. Just to clarify, you did say, or did I hear you correctly, in that plans have been slightly changed, but have those changed plans, the updated plans that have been approved, are they available to view online? Is the first question.
Yeah, the ones that were slightly changed, that was a long time ago. So the ones that came out recently, those are the plans now, basically.
Okay, thank you. And another thing I wanted to ask you was in relation to, again, the shops. There are a number of shops that are working outside of their scope. So in your area, would you have a list of all the shops that have licenses to operate 24 hours a day, or the shops? Because my understanding is that any shop that closes is supposed to close at 11 at night time. And then anything after that has to have an additional license. And the second thing I'd like to also ask you is that there seems to be a number of pop-up burger bars that are operating. Would you have a list of all those that have got the licenses to operate legally with all the food hygiene certificates, etc., etc., etc.? Because we want to know what the ratings are, and obviously on some of these. So 24-hour shops that have licenses, if you can compile a list for the forum, and also if any of these burger bars have licenses as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a list on top of my head in relation to the 24 hours, but I know from the top of my head that there's not many. There's a few that applied, like you're aware, the Bob shop applied, which I opposed, and so did a few residents around there. And so, and fortunately that was refused because of the issues we have, big issues we have with that specific shop. Apart from that, there's not many on the road that are approved. I know there's people who are operating 24 hours, but from as far as I can tell, since I've been a councillor, none of them have been approved. before, if some of them have, like you're saying, I'll have to find out. In relation to, sorry, what was the other question? The burger shop, wasn't it? I'll have to find out for that as well. Who's licensed in relation to that? I know there's on Conch Road and some other roads. There's some burger shops being installed now as well. And with Ramadan, this problem might be increasing. But I'll have to find that out for you as well.
One of the issues that we've got is you've got all these shops that are operating outside of their licensing agreements, but there seems to be no action by Birmingham City Council. So even though they've applied for the one that you're talking about, the application, and the application was actually refused, it's still operating out of its licensing agreement. Yet there seems to be no action either by planning or enforcement to take it to the next step. So is it just a matter of these planning applications? Are they just formality, or is there something that's going to be actionable? And if it's not actionable, why does it take so long, if at all? Why is nothing being done about it post refusal of the application?
Yeah, I understand your frustration. I've had that same frustration as you, because especially there's people who get refused, and their enforcement is a big problem. That's what I've been raising for a while as well. Even in relation to fly tipping, where we discuss fly tipping, we say we remove this fly tipping, but if there's no enforcement, the issue will just continue. Same with this, with the licensing, we need enforcement. We do need enforcement with a lot of things, because if you don't enforce, people are not going to stop. And if you like us, I've raised with some officers previously and councillors that if we just enforce on one, people will stop. Automatically in our area, people, if one or two get enforced against, people will get scared and stop. Like you mentioned about the police, even the police just warning they're going to be in the area, people get scared and don't do illegal activity. So like saying, I do agree with you, there does need to be a lot more enforcement. Unfortunately, the enforcement team is, I don't know what the issue is, but it's not happening as much as we would like. But I do agree with you, we do need a lot more enforcement in the area. Sajid, do you want to come in? Sajid, can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Raqeeb. The issue, as we've said, enforcement. If this was in Yardley, Sheldon, or any of the other areas, enforcement would be like a ton of bricks on them. I reckon they're allowing our areas to go downhill. So what we need is more action from yourself and enforcement. Put pressure on them, even from our local MPs. We want action. Get that Bob shop. You know, you've done a lot of work into it. We as Small East Forum done a lot of work into it. We got their planning refused, but they're still operating. So realistically, nothing's been done. We want to see the next step of action where they are either served notice, fined, or they're closed down. But yet nothing happens like this. So what we need is someone from the enforcement team planning to tell us what they're going to do about it.
Yeah, thank you for your points raised, Sajid. I will chase up again, and I will write to planning and enforcement team, licensing team, so that we can have an answer, especially in relation to the Bob shop and the other Conch Road. But I know that Bob shop is a big issue that we all facing. But also in the forum, has any other concerns, you can email me those concerns as well, so that I can raise it with the council as well. To say there's a lot of residents who are raising this with me. Well, did you want to come? Did you want to come back, Sajid?
Yeah, I'd like to just say, you are most welcome to come to our forum, and you can hear what people like to say. I know you came to the first one. You haven't been since then. It'd be nice if you could turn up as well and see what people are saying. I don't know whether you've covered the other issue, the one about the Green Lane, Munn Street traffic lights. Yeah,
we discussed that previously with Naim. We said, like Naim said, we do need to chase that up again, because that junction, I think you're aware, I've been chasing up for a while. Yeah, even before the forum actually emailed me, I was chasing that up, and then we had officers attend the site and change the traffic lights. But the issue continues.
Yeah, what we can't wait is till 2031, when another few people have died or had serious accidents there. There's 4 schools in that area that use that traffic lights, 2 nurseries on top of that. And there's a lot of old people that use that crossing. Now, you've probably seen it yourself. They jump them traffic lights. I'm sure it doesn't cost £200,000 just to delay them traffic lights by a minute, 4-way. And 2031, that's disgusting. You know, I mean, what we could always do is not pay council tax for 100 houses, and that'll cover £200,000 for a year. And I'm sure we could get them done a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. But I did write to them about. I wanted it to be done the same as the other junction. I don't know if you know the Victoria Street, Bordesley Green Road, and Bordesley Green Junction, where that has pedestrian crossings. So that's quite safe for people to cross. With that junction, we need something similar to that because, like you said, people jump. Even if you don't jump, even if you're just on time of amber, the other light changes quickly. So the amber and amber come at the same time, both sides, all the sides. So even if you're actually driving legally, you can still get stuck. Just if you leave, just when you're turning red, the other side turns green and people go. Like, you know, people in our area, some of them drive quite dangerously anyway. So people crossing red. So that issue will be a big problem. Did you want to come back inside it and then we'll have names?
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to say the one junction they've just done is Charles Road and Coventry Road with Wordsworth Road. They've actually done a 1 minute 30-second delay on all 4 crossings. So that gives enough time for people to cross all 4 junctions. Why can't we have that instead of, you know, like a crossing? I mean, the crossing's already there. It's just a delay. And I'm sure that doesn't cost £200,000 to do that delay.
And this is what I said when. This is what I said. I said we need a delay. And then, like I said, the officers attended the site and they said we've resolved the issue. But then when I looked at when I went to the site again, the issue was the same. So then now I chased you up with the work forum, emailed me again, and other residents emailed me. Then I chased you up again. And then now, unfortunately, I've had this response. So I will chase you up again because I'll say previously you said the matter has been resolved, but the matter hasn't been resolved. So we need to do something about it because the junction is quite dangerous. Name, did you want to come in?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate Sajid's point in relation to 2 things. The first thing is that I think what we shouldn't do is accept as an excuse the Section 114 notice that nothing can be done in Birmingham. Okay, so that shouldn't be acceptable. We should not accept that it's a Section 114 notice and we can't do X, Y, and Z, because we all know that's a load of palaver. Things can be done. And the second thing is for you directly, Councillor Raqeeb Aziz, it's good that you've had these ward meetings and I really appreciate it and I thank you for it. But the fact that we've had 6 forum meetings for Small Heath Forum and you only attended the first one, isn't it part of your remit to attend and liaise with local resident groups like ourselves? So can I ask you directly, what was the reason that you've not engaged in the last 5 meetings that we've invited you to?
Yeah, thank you, Naim, for your questions. In relation to the Small Heath Forum, I did attend the first one. Some of the others I haven't been able to attend due to other issues. I've had various issues on the day. Some I had other meetings on the same day. Some I've had personal issues where I couldn't attend. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. But I do put it in my diary and I do speak to the chair, Sajid, that I will be attending. Even the previous one, I did want to attend, but unfortunately, I had an issue come up that I wasn't able to attend. He is part of our remit to attend to liaise with community groups, but it's not in our remit to attend meetings if consistent meetings. Our remit is to hold board forums, and that's where people come to raise concerns. But if you have a community group, if you want to come meet me, we've spoken before as well. We can arrange a time aside from the forum, and I'm happy to meet with you. Because the problem is with the forum, it's held at a certain time every week. So a lot of times I'm not able to attend that. So if you have any other times, you can arrange. So I'll meet with you and the chair and the secretary. I can discuss any issues we have between ourselves. I don't have any problem with that. Did you want to come back in, Naim?
Yeah, the thing is, right, I mean, I understand yours, but the thing is, when you've got your ward meetings, forum meetings, you guys set the agenda and what you want to tell us. When it comes to the Small Heath Forum, it's the forum itself that sets the agenda in response to what the residents are saying. So in that way, it's a much more representative of the community that you come and you attend these meetings, because we can, from what you're saying is true, there's no point in us having these ward meetings. We could just email you everything, every single question that we need to email you, but that way you can get a feel of what the community is saying, what it's asking, and the passion that community have got in trying to work with our elected members like yourselves. And the fact that you haven't attended for whatever reason, 5 out of the 6 meetings, it's disappointing and it's quite disenfranchising for the residents thinking, and they keep asking the questions quite regularly, where are our councillors? I understand that you're thinking it's too much, but there are other resident groups in other areas where local councillors do attend regularly their meetings. So if you can clear your diaries on the 2nd Thursday of every month, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Naeem. Does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, we got Sajid come back in. Naeem, I don't know if your hand is raised previously, but Sajid, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just to say, will you be walking down Coventry Road as well in the month of Ramadan, just to support the local community and the officers that will be present there, and Birmingham City Council officers?
Yeah, I do attend on walking down Coventry Road some days. Obviously, due to fasting and praying, I won't be attending every day.
No, obviously, I understand that.
Personally, I don't really, even before the council, I didn't really attend the Coventry Road, the what we call the markets. But I will be attending some days just to see what's happening, and just to see if anything the police are attending, and if any of the concerns that people are raising. Yeah. Did you have your hand name, or did you take it down?
Yeah. Any update on the state of the footpath, and any resolution as to how we can get the cars off the footpaths in and around your ward area, like Coventry Road, Grange Road, Whitmore Road? Whitmore Road seems to be quite a bad place for cars parking on the no entry. Is there any firm plan in place or any action that we can take to stop these cars parking on there? Because the footpaths are just diabolical.
Yeah, the footpaths, especially like you said, the Whitmore Road Junction. Whitmore Road Junction we made one way, which was one of the first things I did when I was elected. One of the first big things I did, because residents. Sorry, Sajid, we can hear you. Could you mute, please? Thank you. Yeah, well, I was saying about the Whitmore Road Junction. We wanted to make it one way. Majority of people are following the one way, but like you said, there's a minority. But sometimes it's a big minority that come and go, especially it's usually people parking on the pavement or parking on the corners, like you said, and blocking the crossing, unfortunately. And with the pavement park, even with that, I've raised it with the police previously, and I'll continue to raise it, because really it's the police job to attend. If people are going past one way, they can give tickets, they can give points to them, actually. Even with the pavement parking, it's actually a police job, but the police say to us that it's a council job. Council need to enforce, and the wardens do. But when it's not the case, when people are obstructing, even it's obstructing parking, it's the police's job to come and enforce it. And like you said, the pavements, some of them are in bad state due to this cars just coming and parking on, and the wheels just smacking into the pavement. And pavements are breaking, especially on the Coventry Road. I know I had a site meeting previously with Sajid as well, where we walked on Coventry Road, and we saw the state of some of the pavements, and we raised it as well, with the pavements just lifted, and some other issues we have with the pavement. But yeah, I do agree with you. We do need to carry on raising that point with the police, to get some enforcement on that. I know you're in contact with a lot of the officers as well on behalf of your forum, so if you could also raise it as well with the pavement parking and the Whitmore Road, to say we just need some enforcement so that we can at least reduce it. I know we can't 100% get rid of a problem. It'll take a long time, but slowly, if we can start decreasing it, it'll hopefully end. Did you want to come back in, Naeem?
Yes, please. Yeah, I mean, first thing is that you hit the nail on the head is visibility. So we've not had that many visible patrols within the Small Heath, Bordesley Green ward areas. So the fact that one of the issues that we've got as a Small Heath forum is the police officers are saying something else to us. and the council is saying something else to us with regards to pavement parking.
Mhm.
So we need a clarification as to who is responsible for what. That's the first thing. The second thing I would like to say also is that there's a tree that we notified. Sad was there on the walkabout, and so was a Cllr's inspector. Two of them actually it was. I remember there last year, opposite Langley Road, I think it is. There's a tree there with the roots that are literally growing above ground, and we were told that.
Sorry to call you, is this the tree outside the pharmacy? And the dentist?
No, this is the tree, if you historically opposite Langley Road, more or less.
Okay, yes,
Right.
okay.
There's a tree there that's it's like the Tora Bora Mountains. That part of the footpath is, because literally the roots are all over the place, and it's extremely dangerous. And we were told that tree is going to get cut down, and then the footpath is going to be leveled off, because it is really bad. One of the worst that I've seen in the area. Can you please chase that up and find out what's going on with that specific one, because that has been highlighted, and that is one of the worst ones that you've got within your area.
Yeah, I will do. I'll chase that up as well. Unfortunately, with Kia, sometimes they email me and say it will take 12 weeks to attend, or 24 weeks or whatever. But I don't know how. I think Sajid did have a meeting with them a few months back.
Yes.
So I'll chase that up again.
I could give you an update on that one. It's been about 8 months now since they've said they're going to remove the tree. They've not removed the tree, and they said this was one of the priority ones because nobody with a wheelchair access can get past there. It's been 8 months. Kia have not done anything, because it's down to the tree department now to remove the tree, so Kia can come and do the footpath. So we just need to basically chase them up again and say, well, it's been 8 months since that you've said you're going to remove the tree, but the tree is still there.
Yeah, did you have any email from them, Sajid, if you could forward it to me, or was it just verbally?
No, I've got an email. I'll send it through the forum over to you.
Yeah, if you forward it to me, and I'll chase you up again, because I know you raised it with me previously about the tree as well. Also, you talked about the other tree, about the pavement, but you talked about that tree in particular. I'll raise that again and chase you up, because it's been a long, like 8 months. You said it's a long time.
Yeah,
should have been covered now.
I mean, the whole process has been about a year, but it's been 8 months since they've said they're going to cut the tree.
Yeah. Did you want to come back in, Sajid? No name. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, Saj can confirm this. The chair, that Saj, did the inspector not, when we was out there on site, did he not turn around and say that this has been reported many times before? So this is not the first time that we reported it. It was on their system for quite a substantial amount of time, yet there's been no action. So the question is, even though they've got it on their system as actionable prior to the 8 months that we're talking about, why was there no action on it? Who's responsible for it? Who's failing the residents of Small Heath? And while I've got you on there in relation to footpaths, what's the status in relation to these BT phone boxes that are being used by substance abusers for injecting themselves with heroin and coke and stuff like that? Because they really need to be removed as well to make it much more safer for pedestrians.
Yeah, I do agree with you with the phone boxes. I know some phone boxes have been removed in other areas and around the area. I raised it once before that there is no need for phone boxes anymore. We can just remove them, because the only people, like you said, are using them for illegal activities. Maybe there's a rare one person, but most people have mobile phones or other devices to call now. We're not living in the 90s or 80s anymore that we have to have them. I will raise that again. I think some of the ones have been removed who have been smashed into, or the glass is broken. They've been removed. But unfortunately, the ones, like you're saying, that are around our area haven't been removed. I'm just making a note of that, and I'll chase that up as well. Did you want to come back in before?
Yeah, you're talking about the telephone boxes. None of these telephone boxes, from my understanding, from my visual going past them, none of them are operational. They don't have telephones in there. The handles have all been broken. So, if something, and that's been like that for years and years and years. So where we have a failing bankrupt council, and that's, as well as I'm sure you're aware, that's not the fault of the government. That's mismanagement by the council. Isn't it really a fact that every department that we've had to liaise with, whether it's Liz Clements, whether it's Majid Mahmood's, everyone has failed us, even prior to the Section 114 notice. And if that was the case prior to it, what confidence do we have that these issues will even be looked into, let alone being resolved?
I think with the telephone boxes, I don't know who's responsible for maintaining them, who's responsible for removing them. I don't believe it is the council. From the top of my head, I remember in Edgbaston it was removed. There's a company who comes and removes them. So I'll have to just double check with you. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. I don't know on top of my head. So I will. I know what you're saying. It is a frustration when we've been raising something for so long. I've had that frustration as well sometimes where some things we can't do, unfortunately. And even if we want to do, we can't. But there's some things we can't do, and we do need to get to it and start doing the things that we want to. Yeah, like Hussein said, BT is responsible, not the council. Yeah, this is what I was saying. I believe it is BT or another company that's responsible for removing them. So I'll have to write to BT just to say we need to get these removed. But the problem is, you're saying about the council, but some of these companies are so bad where I've been just hitting my head on the wall with some of these companies to get a job done. Especially some of the company lands, private lands. When you say the council lands don't do it, their companies are, you can write to them and you won't get a response. And you as elected members, you don't get a response, or when you do get a response, it's not satisfactory. So I will raise with about the phone boxes as well. Did anyone else have any questions? Just checking the chat.
I have one, Raqeeb. What's happening with the library?
A Small Heath Library we're talking about.
Yeah, yes, we are. Yeah.
A Small Heath Library, like I said, we've been petitioning and lobbying the council to save our library. I don't know if you've seen the budget or you were viewing the budget meeting or you've seen the plans where most of the libraries, unfortunately, in the city are going to close. Some of them are going to be made community hubs or other things. So we don't have any confirmation on our library yet. We know some of the libraries will be saved. It's about one per constituency. So, like I said, it's quite.
We need to save our library. We've lost our swimming pool. I mean, it seems to be that our ward is one of the first to lose anything, then gain anything. So what we need to do is, as everybody together, it's not just your ward. It obviously covers Saqib's and Shabana's ward as well. That they all need to get together and obviously save our library for a change.
No,
that is the only thing we've got left.
Yeah, it's not only even Small Heath or our ward. It's further than that, because even all Bordesley Green use our library because there's no libraries. Yeah. What's the closest library apart from that? I do agree it does need to be saved. The swimming pool, that plan is still on the table. So I'm hopefully going to arrange a next ward forum with Councillor Rob Pocock, who's the cabinet member for health. There is still some plan in relation to the swimming pool. So hopefully, I know we've been lobbying, so have you, Sajid, and myself, and a lot of residents have been lobbying about that. Like I said, like you're saying, we don't have anything left. Unfortunately, the council assets have been removed over the years. So a lot of it's not at the fault of the council as well. Some of it's higher than a central government issue. And now with this notice we've got, the library is under threat. The closest library on top of my head is Cllr, I believe. So it's not acceptable for us. We do need to try to lobby and save the library. Name, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I find it quite hypocritical that you're talking about the library and that. Yeah, you voted for the budget, didn't you? Because I saw that, and you voted for these cuts. So how can you justify petitioning on the one side, and on the other side, you're actually voting for the same cuts that are going to cut the library and its resources? And the fact that you're blaming, once again, central government. We all know central government has actually reduced its finances to, every council in the country. But the fact that your mismanagement of your council has led to this specific issue, especially the liabilities, where you've had equal liabilities issue that you informed of back in 2017, not you specifically, but the council. You can't keep blaming the government for the mismanagement of your own by your own senior leadership. They need to be held accountable. and we're going to be worse off because we've literally got nothing anyway, and we're going to get worse than nothing, aren't we?
Yeah, we like I said, we have taken responsibility, and we have said it is the fault of ours. The equal pay dispute and etc. is our issue, and Oracle. But we can't ignore the fact that it is a government issue, because it's not only our council that's struggling. A lot of councils around the country are on their knees due to the cuts. And some of these cuts have happened even due to the equal pay. Some of them were cutting before. So if you go back to 2010, 2011, when the Tories were in council and Tories were in government, a lot of services were cut then. But and the vote that you're talking about, this is Tory propaganda, where said we were suggesting saving the libraries. They weren't. Their plan was not to save anything. If you can have the thing is, we have to, at the end of the day, we have to vote for a budget. We have to agree. I know it's hard for us to agree, but if we don't agree to a budget, the commissioners were going to take over the council completely. So that wouldn't achieve our purpose and wouldn't achieve anything. So even though a lot of the budget, it was the hardest decision we had to make with approving that budget. With the council tax increases, libraries closing, all the other issues that we're having. But it's something that has to be done. It wasn't something that I thought I would be elected to do, but unfortunately it's something that we had to do. And I don't know if you had any other points you raised. No.
I just have one final point to raise. What about the rubbish collection, the weekly one? Is that actually going to go into fortnightly?
The weekly collection, that was a big one of my big fighting points, even before. Before the budget meeting, I raised with the councillors that weekly collections won't be acceptable from my area. I said that in Christmas, New Year's, you'll recall how we missed 2 weeks and the area was very bad and the bins were just piling up. So I did raise that because for next year, the current plan is is to make it fortnightly, with having a food waste bin, extra bin for the area, for the city. So that's the current suggestion. But I'll still be fighting for weekly, because I believe in the inner cities we still need weekly collections, because fortnightly it won't be acceptable for us. So I'm going to suggest, I suggested before as well, that we need to have some parts of the city with weekly collection and most of the city fortnightly. So we need to have adoption, like I believe Leeds have done. So we do need to have a model like that where we can save money, as well as the areas that are suffering the most, like the inner cities, maintain the weekly collection.
I mean, I'm just going to say that obviously you thinking of bringing a food waste bin in. Isn't that more expenditure rather than what we've already got? I mean, put another bin in, that's more cost. I mean, some people haven't got the space to put 2 bins, never mind that. I mean, the flats above shops, they haven't got bins at all. So I think that's going to gather more rubbish, more rodents on the road, and more fly tipping is going to happen.
Yeah, so really, I agree with you.
What collection we've got, we should have that. I mean, when the council tax is going up again this year, and the withdrawing, especially refuge collection, that's one of our biggest things in our area. You know, some households have got big families and there's some big properties. They're not going to be able to manage a fortnightly collection. And especially when you've got small bins. I mean, really, the council haven't thought about this, how they're going to deal with it. It's just about, oh, we'll cut this, we'll cut that, we'll cut this. But they haven't put it into real practice, how effective and how it's going to cause damage. I mean, Majid Mahmood, I mean, he's always got the streets clean, this, that, whatever pictures. What is he going to actually do about it? How is he going to manage the fly tipping problem we've got already? Never mind this, that's going to come an additional. I mean, we would like him to come to either our forum meeting or one of your board meetings and explain how is he going to manage this.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll add him to the list to attend again. I think he did attend my first board forum. I'll arrange for him to attend a future one again. I do agree with you, but it's not only an issue about the bins. If you probably are aware, there's a lot of, well, you definitely are aware, there's a lot of flats on top of shops, and there's other flats. So it's not even about wheelie bins, it's about the sacks that are being just put on the road. So obviously they don't have wheelie bins, so they have to put sacks on the road. So that's causing a lot of cats coming and rats and coming and ripping the bins. So when it's weekly, there's bins piling up. Fortnightly will be more of an issue. Like I said, over Christmas that happened, and we had piles and piles of bins all over the area. Did you want to come? I think you've named. Do you want to come in? I think it's the final point we raised.
Yeah.
Now.
I mean, first and foremost, you're talking about the bins and the rubbish and that. I mean, you must be aware in the Cleaner, Greener Streets back in 2021 before the elections, a number of millions of pounds were allocated for this specific purpose. They're called red carded properties. So the flats above the shops, etc., to find a way through. We were promised, if you actually look at the document, red bins, commercial bins for these types of properties. Money was allocated. As a councillor, can you find out for your ward where that money went? Because if they're still getting sacks, where are those millions of pounds gone? The second issue that we've got in relation to this is money always seems to be allocated for projects like these, but there never seems to be any follow-up of where has that money gone. I mean, you're talking about Majid Mahmood. I don't have no confidence in Majid Mahmood at all. I've seen how he operates. I've seen how he works. I've seen how he's done that. I mean, currently, I'm sure you know, task and finish is still going on. Who's responsible for it? So where we used to have people working the proper times, starting at the time, finishing on time, they're working, a couple of hours a day, and then they're doing overtime on the weekends, and that's coming out of our tax that we're paying. So all of these issues are a failure by Councillor Majid Mahmood into trying to get on top of these things. And if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on this, but isn't this 2 weekly bin collections, this fortnightly bin collection, only going to save something like £4 million?
I can't recall the figure on top of my head. But the thing is, like they said, we have to. 4 million is a lot of money when we add up other things. There's 4 million that you have to keep cutting. I do agree with you though that the issue, like the red bins that you said, a lot of these areas do have red bins, but the problem is they're not enough anymore. When they've been installed, like you said, when the scheme came out, they were installed. The bins get full quickly because, like you're nodding. I think some of them get full anyway. Even if they were installed, they're not enough because some of the flats are too much. So we do, like you said, we need a lot more bins. We need a lot more bins to be installed on
a lot of these. I've liaised directly with some of these tenants. Some of these bins that you're talking about, they don't exist. There are no red bins that were supposed to have red bins, because one you're talking about are potentially the ones prior to this 2021 allocation. I'm talking about post 2021 allocation when Ian Ward was the leader. So when you're talking about all this Cleaner, Greener Streets, initially it was a pilot scheme of £7.6 million where we were promised, and I'm sure Bordesley Green and Small Heath were one of 2 out of 6 wards that were piloted, in which were supposed to have additional mobile CCTV cameras. The council already had 2. They wanted another 10 for the 6 wards, amounting to 2 per ward at a cost of something like £110,000, if my memory serves me correctly. Stuff like environmental health officers at a cost of something like £440,000. The bins were costing, I think, something like £1.6 million. Yeah, the document is there. I don't have it into my head, but these allocations were made. So as a councillor in 2022, do you not have the right to ask your cabinet member to ask them for a breakdown of where the money that was allocated for your ward specifically, where did that money go? Because we've been asking the same questions in the Small Heath Ward Forum meetings, and we're coming up against a brick wall. Those questions from 2022 still have gone unanswered.
Yeah, I will ask that. In relation to this, the mobile CCTV, they were installed. I think we had about 4 cameras in the area. We had one on Cart Road, Whitehall Road. We had one on Baker Street. We had one on Bolton Road, I believe. So we had 4 installed for a few months, 6 months. Then we had some installed afterwards again. So we did have them. I think we caught one person or a few people dumping a mattress or something on Cotton Road. I don't know what happened to the enforcement then. But it's, like you said, I'll chase you up to see what's happened with those. Just checking the chat. The Ramadan market, yeah, I don't know how much it's catching. Last year we picked up tons of rubbish for the Ramadan market. So obviously it is costing the council. We were picking up every day, but the Ramadan market is a lot of residents raised with me that it's a big issue that we have with antisocial behaviour, especially last year. It's been running for years, as you're aware, but last year it went to all-time low, and we've had that issue. I think we've run out of time, so thank you everyone for attending the Vote Forum today. We haven't had any other urgent business, so the agenda is completed. So thank you everyone for attending. The next Vote Forum I haven't confirmed yet, but hopefully it'll be near summertime, maybe May, June. So I'll send the details on when it's booked. But thank you everyone for attending. Take care and goodbye.